we're there. So, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, King Louis and assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And it is Friday. Therefore, we have our guest storyteller who is telling stories for children. Now, children can be of absolutely any age, from 0 to 110. And possibly older. I myself have been fighting adulthood all my life. When I grow up, I definitely don't want to be an adult.
You're winning that fight, John. You're nailing it.
We will win. We will win. So, Despoina, have you got some stories for us?
Let's see. I have, and we have people coming. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. Let's see. No. Now I can see everybody, I think. Okay. Admit. Okay, people are coming, John, so I'll give them a minute. Admit. Hello, hello.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone.
Hello, not Lorna. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Keith.
Happy New Year to Great Britain and Ireland.
Welcome, Moira.
Hey, Despoina, and Greece, of course. Good to
Moira
see you.
Lives in Germany. And okay, Tony's coming too. Welcome. Good to see you too. Thanks for coming. Hi, Janet, my love.
Oh, Tony.
Welcome, Tony. You're here.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
And again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm rather an old child, but I'm going to enjoy it.
We love old children. There's another one coming, Michael Kerins. Another old child. Okay, great. Hi, Michael. So, everybody, Kali Chronia, or in other words, Happy New Year, but in Greek.
Happy New Year, or in other words, Happy New Year.
Okay, great. So, thank you for coming tonight. And now that I think we are all gathered, I think we should start with a little song you might recognize, only it will be in a different language. So here it goes. We have these little things called trigona, not very imaginative, I should tell you, because it means triangles. Still, we use these to tell carols. Are you ready, Louis? 1, 2, 3. Τρίγωνα καλαντά μες στη γειτονιά, ήρθαν τα Χριστούγεννα και η πρωτοχρονιά. Hey! So this very familiar song, I'm sure, I think you will find it in many, many languages, is what people sing here on Christmas Eve. Mostly children, they go out from house to house and they knock on people's doors. And it's some kind of trick or treat thing, you could say. But it doesn't matter if you sing in a nice voice or if it's total cacophony, you still get paid. So everybody does it. Everybody wins money. Usually it's groups of children, of course. You don't see it as much in big cities now, but here where I am on my little island, Syros, and in general at the countryside where it is safer for kids to go out, the tradition still holds. Hi Phil, welcome. Kali Chronia, Happy New Year. So this signifies the beginning of the 12 days, 12 nights, what do you want to call it? Of the season of 12, whereupon the Kalikantari can come upon the surface of the earth. Because you see, all year round, they live subterraneously under the earth. This is the place of their residence. The Kalikantari are not very big. They are the size of a child, smaller than our Louis, smaller than King Louis in size. And they are very dark and hairy, and they have crooked noses and pointy ears and sharp, long, sharp, dirty claws. Well, they are not really dangerous per se, but they could have lots of fun with a human if they get their claws on him or her. There are ways to escape danger, of course. You see, you should wear new clothes. It's okay if you wear new clothes, they won't harm you. And you can easily distract them. If it's a one-to-one phase, you can give the Kalkantaros a sieve and ask them to count the holes on it, at which they're not very good. So they will spend a long time. Anyway, if you find yourself in a difficult situation facing Kalikantari, you must find a way to outwit them throughout the night, because in the morning, even on the 12th nights, they can come upon earth. In the morning, they have to return under the earth. And what do Kalikantari do there all year long, you might ask? Well, my friends, they have a very serious task. They have made this huge saw. So half of them are on one side of the saw, half of them on the other side, and they try to saw down the tree of life. They expect to finish creation. And they keep at it, at this very arduous task, with all their might and all their strength. But then on Christmas Eve, they hear the jingles and they know that it's time for Christmas candy to be made. Here in Greece, we make two kinds of candy. One of them is called melomakarono. Might ring a bell, like something like macaroon or something. So it's this biscuit that's dipped in honey, and it turns very soft and, well, very tasty, I should tell you. And the other one is kurabies. Kurabies is a harder biscuit, butter biscuit, and it's covered in this white powdery sugar. So Kalikantari love that stuff. You have to leave it out on the table in the living room. 2 separate plates of melomakarona and kurabiedes for the Kalikantari. Because if you don't, and they come inside your house at night through the chimney, oh boy, what they're going to do, they're going to spoil the food, open the fridge, take everything out and just make a mess out of it. They will put their dirty fingers in your flour and spread it all around the kitchen. You don't want to have to deal with that mess. So you'd better leave some melomakarona and kurabie just in case. So they do come up on the face of the earth and do all kinds of mischief from the 24th up until the Epiphany or Fota, which is tomorrow. This is our deadline. They have to return back to their place. But you see, when they return, they want to finish the job they left in the middle. But when they do enter their hall and go back to their their subterranean place of residence, to their surprise and total dismay, they realize that the tree of life has been reborn. It's been recreated to its original size. And all that year's work has gone astray. But they never give up. They pick up their big saw and try to saw down the tree again until next year. And you will say, thank you, Moira, my love. You will say, why do Calicansari do that? Since they know that every time they leave their place, their work will go in vain. It's just that, well, how shall I put it? They're not the sharpest tool in the box, you might say. Luckily for us, otherwise they would have taken over the world, obviously. So, this will be my third year here, alongside our Johnny boy, that I will be telling a Calicansari story. A different one, John, you haven't heard this one before. Because you see, a long time ago, there lived a woman with a boy. They lived alone. She was a widow. She had lost her husband. They said that the fairies had taken him. Nobody knew what happened. One night he was just gone and nobody ever saw him again in the village. So it was just her and her little boy. And the boy was called Yanis. If it were an English story, he would be Jack, you know. But it's a Greek story, so it's Yanis. And Yanis lived with his mother there. They were poor. They were really poor. All they had was a couple of pigs. One day, it was winter time and really cold, and Christmas was coming. They didn't have much at home, and the mother, she was under the weather. So she told her child, Yanni, my boy, I want you to do two things for me. First, I want you to take our largest, biggest pig, take our hog, take him to the market and sell him. And with the money you gain, I want you to buy flour and salt and sugar and oil, of course, because I am to make Christopsomo, Christ bread, for the day of Christmas. But before you do that, on the way, please stop at the wise woman's house, because I'm not feeling very well and I think I need her help if I want to recover for Christmas. Yanis, the good lad that he was, he took their biggest pig, tied a rope around his neck, and started pulling him towards the forest. He entered the path that would lead to the wise woman's hut. And it was early in the morning and the sun was bright in the sky. The snow had started melting and it was fresh and crispy and it smelled so nice all around him. And he walked and walked and walked, dragging the hog behind him. And then at some point, he got tired and he decided to rest for a little while. And he saw this huge tree with a nice shade, and it was a pine tree, and the pine leaves, they had fallen and created this sort of mattress underneath it. And when Yanis looked at it, it just looked as if it was waiting for him to lie on it and take a nap. So he tied the hog at a nearby tree and went there. And just the minute he laid his head on the pine trees, he was fast asleep. And then he woke up because he could hear some clamor and some drums. He looked around him and he saw that it was already dusk. When had so much time elapsed? He hadn't realized he was sleeping so tightly underneath that tree. But now he could hear drums approaching. He could hear this dab dabba dubba dab dabba dab. dub, dubba, dooba, dub, dubba, dub. And, well, he had a very good notion of what it was on this day that was coming towards him. He could hear the clamor, he could hear the little voices as they were coming nearer, and some of them started screaming, look, look, it's a pig, we're going to eat meat, we're going to eat meat. And Yanis, trembling with fear, realizing it was the Kalikantari that were coming near, having been warned by his mother that he should never, ever come in contact with the Kalikantari. He went up the tree, he climbed up and hid himself on the largest branch and waited. He could see Mechtilde, Kalichronia, my love, Happy New Year. Yanis was above the tree and he could see down at his feet, at the bottom of the tree, the Kalikantari approaching and getting hold of his pig, the one he was taking to the market to sell. And they were so excited. They kept screaming, meat, meat, we'll have meat for Christmas. And Yanis knew that his mother's pig was gone for good. He waited, trembling up on that branch, hoping, wishing, praying that the beads of sweat that were forming on his forehead would not fall down and give him away. But he shouldn't have been so worried, because the Kalikantari, they were so excited to have the pig. They didn't even pay any attention at what was around them. They just grabbed the pig, took hold of the rope and started pulling him away. And Yanis could hear the drums, dub, dubba, dooba, dub, dubba, dub, as they were leaving and getting further and further away until he could hear nothing. He gathered his strength and came down from the tree. He looked around him and it was getting darker, and he thought he should hurry now, so he made his way running on the path towards the wise woman's hut. He didn't really want to go, even though his mom had asked, because, you know, that lady, well, she was weird. She lived there all alone in the middle of the forest. But she had helped them before, and if somebody needed medical assistance, they could call for her, or even if a neighbor was in labor, they could call her to deliver the baby. So even though he didn't want to go, he knew that he wasn't really in danger, so he gathered up his courage and knocked on the door. And the woman opened up and looked at Yanis. What is the matter, lad? Why are you crying? It's the Kalikantari, isn't it? Yes, and they took Did they take your pig? They did. Oh, love. Come in. There is one way you can regain your pig. And don't worry about your mother. I know all about it. Once we're done with our business, I will go straight to her. But you listen to me carefully and pay heed to my words. Your mother has told me that you have inherited a gift from your lost father. Tell me, Yanis, are you a ventriloquist? A what? Tell me, Yanis, can you talk without moving your lips? Yes, but my mom told me not to tell anybody because it's really weird. Don't worry, you needn't hide it from me. This will be your way of getting your pig back. Well, now, to be honest, Yanis, now that the Kalikantari have taken hold of the pig, it is spoiled. You shouldn't take it back. I don't think it's for human consumption now, but have a plan. And if you listen to me carefully and do as I say, you may come out of it rich. So she told the boy her plan. Once the discussion was over, she went one way, back to the direction where Yanis had come from, and he went the other way, towards the other edge of the forest, at the bottom of the mountain, where there was an old wooden hut that was abandoned. And as that woman, that wise woman, had advised Yanis, he gathered some wood and he went inside and he cleaned it and he put wood in the fire. And then he closed the door and made sure that the fire burned bright and waited. Hours passed. Yanis, in the meantime, put on the new clothes that the wise woman had given him so that he would be safe when the Kalikantari would come, because they would come. When it was dusk and everything was quiet, Yanis could hear the drums rolling and their clamor and the voices approaching. Look, look, it's a house, it's a house. They might have some melomakarona and some korabiedes for us, they said. So they approached and they started banging on the door and the windows. And Yanis opened up and welcomed them inside. And they had their hog with them. Where are the melomakarona? Where are the korabiedes? They asked. I don't have any, said Yanis, but before they could get angry, he said, but I can slaughter the pig and cook it for you. Yes, yes, we want meat. Oh, not only are we having meat this year, we're having cooked meat. Yes, yes, do that, and we will not harm you, they said. So Yanis took a big knife, went outside, kissed his hog goodbye for the last time, and did what he had to do. He divided the piece of meat into 11 pieces for the 11 nights that were to follow. And each night he would slowly cook something for them at the fire, in the fireplace. And they would always call out, the hind, we want the backside, give us the backside. But then, when they made all that fuss, Yanis, without moving his lips, he had already hung above the fireplace the severed head of the hog. And then, from that place, a voice was heard saying, it is I, the hog master. And all the Kalikantari retreated in fear. Do you see my huge snout? If you don't listen to Yanis, I will sniffle, and I will snuffle, and I will snort it all out. And then the sparks from the wood will scorch you all, no doubt. And I will not stop, even if you shout, no, no, the great hogmaster, please, please, do not do that. Do not scorch our pointy ears. Do not scorch our crooked noses. Do not scorch our smelly bums. Please, please, we'll behave. We'll be really, really good, they said as they cowered to the floor. So Yanis said, you're having this piece of meat tonight and the rest tomorrow. And when it was dawn, all the Kalikantari went back to their business under the earth, and Yanis could rest for a while, get some sleep, could cook something for himself. And it went on night after night after night until it was the 12th night, and all that was left was the backside. And when the Kalikantari came that night, they banged their drums even louder and they screamed, meat! We want meat! We want the backside! Cook the bone for us! And Yanis said, I will, if you bring me a sack of gold coins. What? A sack of gold coins? You cook that meat now! They started saying, and then from above the chimney, it is I, the Hogmaster. Do as Yanis tells, or I will sniffle and I will snuffle and I will snort it all out, and I will burn your smelly bums, and I won't stop even if you shout. Okay. Give us some time, Yanis. Give us some time. Please, Hogmaster, do not burn our pointy ears and our crooked noses and our smelly bums. We will go out and bring Yanis a sack of gold coins. And out they were. And Yanis cooked that backside of the hog really slowly until it was as soft and juicy as jelly. And when the Calicantari came back, he asked them to dig up a hole and put the sack of gold coins inside the earth and tap it. Because everybody knows that if the Calicantari give you gold coins and you don't perform the holy ceremony that atones for their spoiling, it will turn into coal, obviously. So they dug and they put the gold coins inside that hole, and they put some earth on top, and then inside they went, and they were so happy. They grabbed the backside of the hog, and they started putting their mouths and their teeth and their claws in it, and one pulled and the other pulled away, and they started fighting among each other because they all wanted to have some of that meat, and they were so busy at it that they didn't even hear the first rooster crow. Actually, they were still fighting when the second one crowed. And I should tell you that they were licking their dirty claws from the fat of the meat when the third rooster crowed. And then they said, it's morning, we must return. But it was too late. The minute they left the hut and went outside and tried to scurry away, the great sun was already up in the sky, and every time a sunbeam would touch a Calicantaros, they would go poof and disappear into smelly black smoke. And soon it was just Yanis there. And now it was Epiphany. And he could hear from afar people gathering, and he could hear some chanting, some religious chanting, and he could see a group of people approaching the hut. In front of them, the wise woman, behind her, his mother, behind the mother, the priest. And they all came together and they said, Yanis, you're alive, we're so glad. Not only am I alive, he said, but there is gold in the hole. So the priest took out his thingy and he started, let's say, making the place holy. He performed the religious ceremony that would just, cleanse the place from the Calicantari's smell. And when it was done, they said their amens, and then they dug up the gold. And it was still gold, even though they took it out in the sun and the sunbeams touched it. It never turned to coal. Oh, mother, we are rich, he said. Not only us, but the entire village. And that Christmas, I should tell you, even though he still regretted his lost hog, they had every piece of other food you can imagine, and they invited everybody. Everybody ate together, and for the first time, you will be surprised, the wise woman, she sat with them, and they all dined. Thank you. Careful, Louis. tonight it is the 5th of January. It is their last night out. Tomorrow you'll be safe. Tonight you should beware. So now, after Christmas, the next big celebration is New Year. So I'm gonna start you off with a song that's very particular. It's got the meaning that everybody knows and sings, and then every other verse, there is another poem hidden inside the traditional song. So it goes like this. I will be singing and translating. Αρχή μηνιά και αρχή χρόνια, ψηλή μου δέντρο λιβάνια. So the first verse says, first of the month and first of the year. The second verse says, tall like a tree. And I should tell you now that it's talking about a lady. Κι αρχή καλός μας χρόνος, εκκλησιά, μετάγει ο θρόνος. So, a happy new year, tall like a church with its dome. Αρχή που μπήκε ο Χριστός, Αγίος και πνευματικός, στη γη να περπατήσει και να μας καλοκαρδίσει. So this verse is totally innocent, has no message hidden, talks about Christ and how Christ came on earth to warm people's hearts. But then we're at it again. Άγιος Βασίλης έρχεται και δεν μας καταδέχεται. Santa Claus is coming, and she deigns no response. Από τη Γεσαρία, συσαρχόντισα κυρία. Santa Claus is coming from Caesarea. You are a high society lady. So now, after this day, Greek people sing that song on the first of the year, but we have forgotten what's inside it. Back then, when the poem was first coined, the difference between social classes was unreachable. It was very clear. You had the rich and you had the poor, and they would not mingle, they would not interact. But there was this boy, this lad, who really fancied a rich girl. And singing the carols was the poor people's only chance to enter the big villas, the rich houses. And singing the carols was his only chance of speaking to her. So we have the song to celebrate the new year and a love song hidden in it. Now, Agios Vasilis. We say Agios Vasilis or Saint Basil like the Russians do. Right, Michael? I think we have the same Santa with the Russians. Yeah, it's the same around the Balkans, I think. And Agios Vasilis, Saint Basil, is based on two different characters from the beginning, the first centuries of Christianity. Back then, lots of Greeks lived in Asia Minor up until the further eastern interior above Syria. This is how far Greek civilization had spread. And there are two personalities I need to tell you about, because our Agios Vasilis is a combination of the two saints for our church. So first of all, it was Agios Vasilis, the same bishop that carried the name that we are using for Santa Claus today. That person, it was around the 4th century CE, Common Era. So it was around 350, let's say, that he was born, and he was a rich man. He was a very educated man, coming from a Christian man. So he decided to become a priest, and then he went and lived 5 years in the desert. John, if you can imagine that, you've been to the desert. Imagine what 5 years there can do to a man. Yeah, a lot of introspection, I take it. And he returned, and he took this job as a bishop, and he was the first one up until then in maybe all Orthodox history. He was the first one who actually decided that he should use his position to do social work for the first time. I mean, that guy was one of the first Christians, like a real Christian, what Christianity is supposed to be. He cared about the poor. He would accept anybody in his church. He he gave funds for places to be built so that foreigners could come and find hospitality, and poor people could have medical care. And not only that, these are things that many rich people do, but what this guy did was he organized the people to do that for the people. So the people who followed Agios Vasilis, as we now call him, they built soup kitchens, and they would gather old clothes and anything that people could spare so that it could be given away to the poor or people in need. I myself am not a religious person, but when I see religion being put in good use to actually do some good in the world, well, what can you say? I am in awe. I wish all religions were like that. I wish all people who represent religions would actually do that. And then there's the other fellow, that is Agios Nicholas. So Nicholas has the same name as Santa Claus. It's Saint Nicholas. Now, this guy lived around the same time, but at another part, not Caesarea, that the song talks about Agios Vasilis. He was living in Lycia, in Asia Minor. And Nicholas again came from a rich family, and they say that he had become a priest already when somebody went to him in the form of discussion, not confession, to tell him about his neighbor who had 3 daughters, which he couldn't marry, because back then if you wanted to give your daughters a good marriage, you had to provide dowry. There was no way around it. So he could not do that, and he could not look after them. And he had decided to sell the girls. So Nikolaos heard that, Nikolaos the priest, and he spent a good few days watching that household to see what was going on. And he could see that the girls were dressed in really poor clothes, and their shoes had holes, and they seemed undernourished. But even that fate would be better than being sold as a slave. He should do something to help the girls. So he thought and thought. And he took some of his family's riches one day that house was empty and everybody was out in their own business. He reached through a side window, managed somehow to climb inside, and he could see that in the fireplace, in front of it, there was a robe, and some socks were hanging from the girls' feet because their shoes had holes, and the snow and the rain had weighted their socks, so he thought that perhaps that would be a good idea if you could, place a little bit of money inside the hanging sock so he wouldn't give himself away. And after he did that, he went away, and when the father returned and the daughters told him what they had found inside the sock, he was so happy and relieved. He said, "Oh, this is good enough money for me to marry the oldest one among you." So this is what he did. He married the first girl. And then, sometime later, the same thing happened with the second sock. So he had the opportunity to marry off his second daughter. And then it was just him and the little one. And he said, if this happens for a third time, I should probably hide and check who is our benefactor. So he did that. And he discovered Santa Claus with his hand in the jar, taking out the sweet and putting it inside the hanging sock. And he said, "Papa Nicola, is it you? Has it been you all this time? Have you helped me marry my girls off?" And Papa Nicola said, I'm sorry. I am sorry. What are you sorry for? Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I did not want you to see it as, no. It's not that I feel sorry for you. I wanted to help. I just didn't know how. Oh, you shouldn't think like that. I'm so grateful, he said. Now I can marry my third daughter off, give her a good husband. I am a monster, he said. I would be selling my daughters off. Well, said Papa Nicholas, we are all monsters from time to time, but the meaning of our religion is for people to be able to repent and change their ways. And it was obvious to me from the first time I tried it that you did not want to sell them. You just felt you had to. But now we can all have a good end, a happy one. And legend has it that those 3 girls did live happily ever after. So Santa Claus, Agios Vasilis comes to Greece on the 1st of January, but he doesn't carry his sack from the chimney, because you see here on the island we don't have many chimneys. He just places things underneath the tree. It's easier for everybody this way. Plus, the best personification of Agios Vasilis I know is John Rowe. Can you imagine sticking John inside the chimney? Oh, you wouldn't want to do that now, would you? No, John, just underneath the tree, it's fine. And our last tradition before we finish for today is Epiphany, of course, or Fota. Fota means lights, obviously, because this is what we're celebrating, really. We celebrate love and warmth and true relations between family and friends, but most of all, it is the coming of light. Darkness ends and light is coming. So we have this really, really crazy tradition in Greece. Tomorrow morning, there will be a big crowd of people at the port of my town. Everybody will be gathered. There will be priests and they will be chanting, and the mayor and politicians and everybody will gather there. So the priest, the biggest one among them, the bishop, let's say, takes hold of a golden cross, not a medallion, just a cross. And after chanting his chants, he moves his hand behind and throws it as far as he can inside the sea, and then people dive. You have men in swimsuits diving, trying to get the cross. Luckily for them, this year we have good weather, so they still can do it safely. Other years you'd say, who on earth would consider diving inside the sea under this weather, but they do. I mean, not just people who, swim throughout the year, people who believe that if they catch hold of that cross, they will be blessed for the rest of the year. And as I was digging, we storytellers, we have this habit of searching the tradition, behind the tradition, and we go lots of steps back in the history of humanity. I found out that there was this ritual in ancient Athens where from the temple of Pallas Athena, they would take the statue, they would undress it and remove all the jewelry from it. There would be a procession to the sea, and there the high priestess would be the one to wash the statue and leave it there all night long until the next day. They would take the statue back to the now clean temple, dress it again, put on all the jewelry, and have the blessing of the goddess again. And up to this day, because tradition is based on tradition, in some churches people take the holy paintings of the saints, carry them off to whatever water they have, the nearest river, wash the painting, and then take it back to church. So, that said, may the light be with you all, and from the deepest part of our hearts, may peace prevail.
Well, thank you, Despoina. And may light, you have brought so much light tonight. You've
Smashing, Despoina, lovely.
yeah,
That was
so
grand.
what-
Thank you, Despoina.
Yeah, thank you. It was beautiful.
Thank you
What
for
are your
being here with
thoughts?
us.
Hi, Tony. It's Michael Kerins in Glasgow here.
Mm.
Well,
That
what
was
have we got?
wonderful. Yeah, that was lovely.
Hi, Michael. Nice to see you. Hear you.
I'm grand. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yes, and what a lovely hour we've just had with Despoina. I saw Despoina last night at Rona's evening, and that was a good taster for tonight. So nice to see you, and John and everybody else as well.
Well, thank you. And what have we got coming up on the cafe? We have a month of magnificence. Of course, every Tuesday, 4 p.m. UK and Irish time, it is our International Young Tellers. And of course, Jasna May, who is one of our regulars, won the World Storytelling Championship for her age group. Fantastic. And then on the 12th, on Fridays, so I'm going to run through the Fridays. On the 12th, we have Bob Canagas, and maybe Liz if she can get there. Then on the 19th, we've got a moustached fellow from north of the border, Michael Kerins. You might have heard of this fellow. He is excellent. And then on the but this is more, and then on the 26th, we've got Manuela Kelly. But which is, so that's our Fridays. So Bob, Michael, and Manuela. But we are starting our worldwide story round once more. And that is going to start on the 14th. That's Sunday week. And that'll be 6 o'clock, same time as this, UK and Irish time, in which everyone is invited to come and tell a story in whichever language they want.
Do come. It's a very nice opportunity to meet other tellers and listen to lovely stories.
So it's a no pressure one. It's run by Mike Rust, who runs Get a Word in Edgeways, and he hosts it, and he's a very gentle host. And so come and tell a story on that. That's you just come in on the usual way. Janet knows. And so press the gold button and you will be in. Meanwhile, Happy New Year, everybody. And once more, a big round of applause for Despoina.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, California.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Thank you.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Why are you not swimming?
Thank you for starting our Fridays. And King Louis,
Hello.
Happy New Year to you, and have a good. And we hope to see you every Friday in the traditional manner.
Next week I'm doing swimming.
Ah,
I'm doing that after swimming now. I think I'm gonna do year 6 next week, but my session is on half 7.
Oh,
And
you
it's-
will be well over by then. You'll have time to listen and then go swimming.
great.
Louis, if I had you here on my island, I'm sure you would dive for the cross tomorrow and you would catch it, I know.
So, once more,
Thank
we
you.
hope to see you
Thank
regularly.
you, John, for organising this great
Yeah, thank you, John.
lineup.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Bye.
New Year. Bye.
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 And thank you, Waleed, as always.